On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are talking the Season 2 finale of Star Trek Picard, 210 Farewell, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
And thanks for all the fish. Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on the continuing Star Trek conversation two lifelong friends have been having since they were 6 years old. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I am David C. Robertson.
David?
Yes. C.
Ah, you used the native tongue of Rios. Was that a fond farewell?
No.
In your fond hello?
It wasn't a fond farewell. I thought he largely brought nothing to the table this season, and I'm happy to see him go.
I am incredibly upset to see him go. I agree, he brought I enjoyed what he did this season. I enjoyed it. But, I had so much bigger ideas for Rios.
Yeah? You had plans?
Yeah, I had big plans. I really like Rios.
You had designs.
I love Rios. I think he's a great character.
Uh-huh.
He is fascinating from the moment he's on screen with that fucking blade sticking out of his shoulder. And I want more of Rios, and I like him psychologically. He's the character I think I like most of the new characters. Mostly because of my rampant sexism. But
right, of course. Always have to take that into account.
Yeah, I gotta be honest about my biases.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like Rios a lot. I think he's super fun. I like his philosophy in that first episode with the thing where he just has just been in a bar fight and he just I don't know. I that's the Rios we met. And to me, he had this big change in the first season, and I was really excited to see who he is as a captain. And we got 2 seconds of it, and now he's gone, and I'm mad about it. I am actively mad about it.
The main thing I'm mad about is that he's just back there screwing up history.
Well, apparently he was always supposed to do it.
I know, I remember.
Which is a whole thing. I mean, it's a whole thing. Yeah, it's it does. So this always happened. This entire thing always happened, I guess.
Yeah,
is what they're going with.
Yeah,
that's fine. I guess that's another version of time travel. Tack that one on to the board.
Well, yeah. To be fair, they did hang the lantern, amongst other things, in this season. Picard's mom.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they did say, like Q said, there are many forms of time travel.
Right.
And so, whatever. I mean, this has been a thing in Star Trek for decades. That
there are various ways to time travel, and they have different repercussions and different ways. And in this, they hang, like you say, hang the lantern, but they talk about it in the first few episodes. We don't know how this particular version of time travel is going to work. We don't know if Eleanor is going to be waiting on us or not.
Well, he wasn't, but the implication was that Q used up the last of his energy to bring him back as a surprise.
Yeah, agreed. And I liked that. Man, I am so torn on not just this episode. It's not a thing where it's it is a thing where there's some stupid parts and some great parts.
Yeah.
Really great parts and really stupid parts.
Mm-hmm.
But also I am really torn on certain key elements where it's not just there's parts I like and parts I don't. There's really specific parts that I both love and hate. I love them and I hate them so much at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The Travelers thing. I love the idea that the Travelers connect to the supervisors. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, making the universe smaller again, but whatever.
Right.
I'm good with it.
It is one galaxy, and we kind of know all the players involved. At least we're getting a good map of the galaxy now, and at some point, things are going to cross over. It's kind of cool. We get that kind of stuff in books all the time. I dig it. I think it's cool, and I liked seeing Wesley again. He played that role well to perfection, I thought.
I didn't. I was just oh man, it shows that he's been away from acting for so long. And then I went back and looked at some Wesley scenes, and I was like, nope, never mind. He's right there.
Well, he's playing the recruiter guy giving the speech.
Yeah.
And it still feels like he's young Wesley who doesn't know how to talk to this girl a little bit.
Yeah.
He's hold on, I'm giving a speech. I've worked this out. I've been working on this. Here's my recruitment speech. And it worked for me. I liked it.
Yeah, it was fine.
But the idea that there's a all-powerful, benevolent force guiding the galaxy out there in like the in a direction so there can never be a thread that pulls too far out, kind of removes all galactic stakes ever, right?
I didn't think about that, but that's really funny.
Like, they literally created God twice in this episode. One is a dying God that is like personally invested in Picard's life. And like they created like the God of like, you know, personally like, I care about you and I'm going to make sure you specifically, Picard, your life turns out the way you need it to. Or the way, a positive way for you specifically. Not just, and I loved it. I loved that moment between Q and Picard. I absolutely love it. And I also just hate the like weird theism of it all.
Well, you know, I think that's just a personal thing for you because,
Agreed.
Look, saying that like the Travelers employing the supervisors and maintaining this universe is, I don't think it's really creating it might be creating a sort of a godlike force almost, but there's nothing to say that they can't spin it off and we can see their own issues that they, have doing all this. Like, let's do more Assignment Earth or Assignment whatever.
Could be really cool.
Could be really cool, but I don't think that creates a situation where there are no stakes. The Star Trek writers themselves are doing that. But just the existence of that doesn't mean that, because, you could watch a show, favorite character die, and you're like, why did that happen? Meant to be. Like, that was what was supposed to happen in the timeline.
Yeah.
So, nothing has changed.
Sure. I agree, but it's like any kind of galactic threat for the rest of time, I'm going to look at and go like, well, of course the Travelers could just show up and fix this. Like, it literally creates a race of beings that you're like, why isn't God taking care of this for us? I just don't like, there were just two major things this episode that felt like they were like, I don't know, antithetical to the idea, the hopeful nature of Star Trek that is like, we will charge forward, the human race, we will get better, we will achieve, and it was like, Picard can't even deal with his personal issues without a god-like creature coming in and rearranging all of time so that he can deal with his personal issues, and then apparently the entire galaxy is being sculpted by this race of travelers.
Once again, as Q pointed out, he did not move around time. Picard chose to go back in time.
Right.
That was Picard's choice. Like, he just wound up in an alternate reality.
Did Q put him in the alternate reality? Why did he get in the alternate reality to begin with?
He was in the alternate reality to begin with because when he blew up the Borg, he stopped the whole bit of him going back in time. And changed the future. They had to go back in time for the correct time to happen. I think that's what they're thinking they're doing. They did.
But how can they go back in time if they never enter the alternate reality?
All Q did was put them into their alternate selves that would exist because Picard blew everybody up.
Okay. I guess that works.
Don't look too closely at it.
No, it works. Like, if they didn't go back, there's an alternate reality where the Empire rises or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if Q just shifted their consciousnesses, sure, that makes sense. But because Q was responsible in some way because they had that conversation this episode.
Right. I mean, he just brought them over and so that they could go back in time. He didn't tell them to. That was Picard's choice, but that's what was supposed to happen.
Sure. But then it comes to the, and I know it's time travel. Don't look too closely at it. But that's one of my favorite things to do is to look too closely at time travel.
I know. I'm saying that just because they didn't do a good job. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, then why in the original timeline? Like, There's no reason for this to happen in any other way. And I guess that's what we could look at it as. It's a closed loop, which works. It's like the closed loop of this always happened. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And Q moving their consciousness over there was just a part of him helping them see their past, or helping him get past his past, which was beautiful, which was fucking beautiful. The idea that Q cares about Picard that much.
I did get lightly choked up at that. Yes.
Oh, I got really choked up. And then the other part the thing that really made me weep was him saying, well, it's now time to leave. And he says, but not alone. And then he hugs him, man. It's like,
isn't that the point of all this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was all good stuff.
Isn't that the point of this? Almost made it a little too cynical for me. Although I don't think it is.
That's for Q. It's Q.
I both think this makes it aromantic, but also I think this is how life works. Mm-hmm. People do good things because they want to be the type of people people want to be around. That's basically my thesis on morality. It's like we work best in community. So like we work best when we're in a group of people. So we need to be people that other people want to be around. We want to be the person who doesn't get pushed out of the community, excommunicated. So that's basically my personal theory of how morality works.
That must be why I'm not very moral. I'm like, no, I want you to push me out.
Please send me to the wolves.
I don't want to have to go to the church social.
Me neither. That's why I came up with my own system here.
I'm like, you're going to turn Stranded Panda into a cult, aren't you? You're going to just start your own religion, be like Pandaology.
When we all met up and we had a meet up with all the hosts and a few people that are just listeners and friends and fans and stuff. We met up in Nashville one time, and then we had met up in Vegas one time. And so like a bunch of our different groups of friends are like, oh, you're going to meet with that cult this weekend?
Yeah. I'm going to wind up being Joaquin Phoenix and the Master.
I've never seen it.
Oh God, you would hate it. But it's really subtle and long paced, slowly paced.
I love subtle and not low paced stuff. Is offensive, sir.
You'd be like, it's boring.
I mean, I can still like something that's very boring and still acknowledge that it's very boring.
That's how I feel about the motion picture.
Yeah, exactly. It could be good and be boring. Just another trait of it. And it could be action packed and shitty. Anyway, sorry, but my point is that's like kind of my belief about morality. It's sort of a cynical belief. It's definitely a cynical belief, but also there's a certain beauty to it because it's, I think, true. I think there's like an undeniable nature that like we are good because we want, and like the thing that makes you a really good person is deciding at the bottom of yourself to be like, yeah, I think I work better with people, and I'd like to be the person that people want to be around. Like making that active decision, not just doing it selfishly, but like being like, I'm even going to do it in the non-selfish moments because I want to be that person. I think that's powerful. And so having him at the end of that say, that's what all this was about after all. It's like kind of a cynical moment, but I also love it. It's another one of those moments that I love and I hate. I love it because it's personally kind of important to me. I hate it because it makes it come off kind of cynical.
Mm-hmm. No, I was great with that. I was great with it.
Yeah, I hear that. It's just like it would be sweet if Q had like done it because he wanted what was good for Picard, regardless of how it made Picard feel toward him,
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's in Q's nature to always pull back a little bit and be cynical, though.
Yeah, and it's like, just it's beautiful of Picard to realize that his friend also needed something,
Mm-hmm.
I love that moment. I do.
Nick Yeager on that Star Trek cast was just talking about how it took so long, how we should have had that Picard hugging Q moment back in TNG, because almost everything Q does is to help Picard.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it until she said that. And I was thinking, like, you know what, though? Like, if anything, this season has taught us that Q is the bullying father figure that Picard has always had. That's why he's always been like, damn it, Q. Like, that's why he's always been so angry and reactionary towards Q and his bullshit, is because there's this, like, person who's, like, Picard gets grown, he's captain of a ship, and now there's this asshole god who's more powerful than him, making him learn a lesson like he's a little kid. And I think there was, like, I don't know if they meant to do it that way, if that was their intention, but I kind of really liked that.
Well, I definitely think there's something that easily ties together there where he's learned this season that the monster of his past was not a monster.
Mm-hmm. And that perhaps Q was not the whole time either.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're necessarily connecting it to the father figure aspect, but I definitely think there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
But man, those moments where Q is like looking down at him, he's like, I care about you.
Even gods have their favorites.
Yeah. It's so well done and so well acted, but it also, like, it was so religious in nature, it made me, like, slightly uncomfortable for it to be on Star Trek. Like,
I just wanted a quick cutaway of Janeway being like, I feel attacked.
And Cisco being like, I did punch him. After all. Picard never hit me.
I'm not Picard.
Oh, man. Yeah, but, so I love that scene, and it also makes me slightly uncomfortable. Same thing with the Travelers.
Oh, that's okay. No one needs you to be comfortable, Matt.
It's true. Not even me.
See, that's honestly, that's like one of my favorite things about TV is when it makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure. I'm not really saying a bad thing about this thing. It's just like,
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I both love that moment, and it also, like, I mean, with the Traveler, it makes me worried about the future of Star Trek. Like, how integrated will we? I don't know. It just makes me weird that there's, like, this benevolent, all-powerful force. It's like, what's the point of the Federation? Unless, like, something's going to happen to them. Unless, like, you know, and I love this ending. Oh, I freaking love the ending. Transwarp conduit from some threat. You know, where's that from? Is it outside of our galaxy?
And I don't know if it's a red herring. I don't know if it was just like they had the option to pick it up and, you know, they're not going to. I don't know, but Q was announced for season 3 at some point.
Right. I wonder if that's a red herring, because I think he's done. I don't see them bringing Q back. I
don't know. I don't trust them.
I think it's a bad thing if they bring Q back, because I think this ending for Q is so perfect.
But I feel the same for Elnor. Like, I really needed him to stay dead.
I didn't, because they just, it was so quickly after his death that they were like, he might come back, that I was like, okay, it's fine if he comes back. Yeah. Like, I never felt the death, because I always knew that it was likely he was coming back. Because if I'd been feeling, if they had tried to make me feel his death all season, I know Raffi was, but I never was, because the whole season I was like, yeah, once they get back to the future, he's just going to be there again.
Yeah, well, the very fact that they red herring every damn other thing in this universe, they can red herring, well, maybe he'll come back, and then they get back and he's not there, like, oh. Yeah,
I guess I just didn't expect that. So, turning from the things that made me feel good and bad, let's go to one with just gave me one very solid feeling. The drone sequence.
Yeah.
That was the dumbest shit I've ever seen on screen.
Was it? Even dumber than them transporting the thing into Spock's eye in Strange New Worlds?
Nope, it wasn't as bad as that. But a number of things about it annoyed the crap out of me. I realized it was a thing to give Rios something to do this on his final episode. It was the worst. I hated it. I know Rios is a captain, but I don't really know him as, like, the best pilot in the fleet or something. Like, I don't know. It just... Blah. Like, it was just an action sequence for action sequence sake in the middle of the show. And the thing about it is, so Soong is trying to hide the fact that there's a he has these two methods of destroying the Europa mission. And he left a recording of him talking about the drones.
Mm-hmm.
So that when they got there, they'd be fooled for 30 seconds and then realize there were drones? Like, what is that plan?
Bad? Dumb?
It's so dumb.
It very much felt like, yes, we were trying to make sure that Rios had something to do.
Yeah, 100%. He needed to get a victory, a win this episode. But there's just so many ways to do that are not... I don't know. And also, my big thing was, I thought Rios was going to stay behind. They also acted like it was a surprise. Q acted like it was a surprise. And theoretically, Q kind of knew what was going to happen when he set them on this path. And then we all knew what was going to happen from the first fucking episode. And then Q, the omnipotent Q, was like, ooh, surprising. Or whatever it was. Isn't that unexpected? It's like, no, that just sounded like sarcasm to me. But it didn't. He did not play it like sarcasm. Also, he acted like he didn't play it like sarcasm because he went unexpected, and then he went to thinking because then that's when he decided to bring Elnor back. He was like, with that extra energy, I could do. It's like he was working it out in the moment.
Oh yeah, I don't think Q would need to work things out that slowly in the moment. I feel like that was like theatrics for everyone around. Like, I
didn't think it played that way, but I hear you. I wish that was it.
I mean, that's the way I saw it when I watched it, but believe me, you know me, I pick shit apart.
No, yeah, I hear you. I just didn't see it that way. Yeah, so that whole sequence bothered me. But then Rios getting left behind, I was like, oh, cool, we've talked about the idea of like maybe he'll be a supervisor, or maybe they'll spin him off and do something cool or whatever. But then they get back to the future and they're just like, by the way, he's dead. And it's like, okay. Yeah. That really disappointed me because I wanted more from Rios.
To me, it would have been like, I think it would have been more interesting if they Jillian tailored that shit a little bit, where they were like, by the way, you and your son don't do shit. You get killed in the second or the Third World War or whatever bullshit conflict that's going to happen in like 2 years. And how about you just come to the future with us? And they're on the Stargazer.
Oh man, that would have been the best way to launch the new Stargazer show. Like him have a family and like from the past too. So you got that extra little wrinkle of like this family from the past. Oh, that would have been great.
Fish out of water, man.
Yeah.
I know it's great.
Fish out of water on a show that I'm already fascinated by the idea of him being a captain of the Stargazer, which I guess 7 is now.
I mean, if field commands stick, which if we learned anything from Star Trek 09, yeah, field commission. Star Trek 09, they stick sometimes, so.
Right. I mean, at least at the moment, she's the captain of the Stargazer, which is fine with me. I think a 7 show would be great on Stargazer too.
Yeah, and as Star Trek has proven time and again, as soon as one person is okay, or at least one bridge crew is okay with a bad guy suddenly being considered good and accepting whoever the person who has been discriminated against, the whole fleet is. So
right,
she could be in Starfleet and nothing will ever happen about her being Borg again.
Yeah, and it didn't help the situation that her first message to her first act as captain was to tell the rest of the crew, let the Borg control your ships, do not resist.
Resistance is futile.
She literally said, do not resist, was like her first words to the fleet after getting a field commission into Starfleet.
Yeah. So I guess we're to assume that this Gerati Borg fleet has just been like chilling for 400 years, like letting the other Borg do their thing and being quiet and just slowly like running around going, hey, so we're not going to force you to be part of the Borg, but do you want to?
That is the question. We didn't see any other drones. We don't know what this version of the Borg is like at all. The implication I would take from it, but now we know it's not this way, is that she became the Borg back then and like has been being the Borg for 400 years. The problem with that is that's not the Borg we've known. So I guess she's been some weird offshoot of the Borg all this time.
Yeah. Just kind of laying in wait, gathering people who were like saying okay to it. Like, you know, like the people who say, I want you to eat me. You know? Like,
yeah, all those people.
Yeah, what do they call them? Long pigs or something? Like the
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, it's a real thing in like cannibal culture in real life. It's like they're like the master chefs, and then they're like the people who want to be eaten, and they give their bodies over to these master chefs to tear them apart and slaughter them and eat them. It's a real thing. It's weird.
That is beyond weird, my friend. That's disgusting. All right. Thanks for that. Thanks for that image right before bed.
Carrie Russell was in a movie about it too.
Weird Carrie Russell. Weird call. Where did Felicity go from there?
First she cut off her hair, then her limbs.
Oh, gross. I don't like this line.
Gives a whole new meaning to eat me, daddy.
Gross. All right, so what else do you think about the season finale of Picard?
I don't know where to go after that.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I asked you, what else did you think about the season finale of Picard? I mean, what are your overall thoughts? Were you happy? Were you sad? I
am more pleased with this one than I was the last season's finale.
I was too.
I was intrigued. I didn't realize it at first. Like Sean Ray actually on that Star Trek podcast had to point that out to me. Is that the folder that said Project Con said June of 1996. So that was interesting. But, you know, apparently the eugenics wars don't happen until 2027 or 8 or something like that, after the second Civil War. So,
okay.
I don't know what to do with that. It is interesting. You know, it's one of those things where, like, as a fan, I'm like, oh, dude, that makes sense that, you know, Brent Spiner's character here, you know, kind of started into the eugenics wars, and then his like son was in, or his grandson was into it, or whatever it was, great grandson,
right?
Eric Sung was into eugenics. Data's father would be Noonian, and like they have this like link to the eugenics wars. Makes sense. Then the other part of me says, you know, God, stop making the universe so damn small.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that was one of my little tug of war moments where I both loved it and hated it.
Yeah. I think I mostly hated that moment. Mostly because it just like this show tends to do a thing where it like wants to make some sort of statement. Like it wants to say that, you know, Soong in this episode decides to turn to his, but like the way it was played and acted is just like a way no human would ever act. Like he just had this huge disappointment, and like instead of like thrashing around or like he gets angry and then he just immediately opens a folder to turn to the next thing. Like there's not there's not really even a moment of like defeated or exasperation. It's just kind of like, all right, well that's not going to work anymore. I will now turn back to my project from 30 years ago. There's not like a moment of realization. It just felt like very like, I don't know, like the scene requires me to pick up a con folder now.
Well, you know, it makes sense if like his old project, because clearly his old project led into him trying to create the perfect daughter.
Right.
So like genetically engineering these girls.
Yeah.
So, you know, she destroys everything on his computer, which happened way too quickly and I didn't really buy. But whatever. Dude doesn't have backups. Right. I don't get it, but okay.
I have multiple backups in different cities. Like, why doesn't he?
Yeah. But if Elon Spiner is going to look at his computer and say, I have nothing here anymore. It's like there's like this like weird like sociopathic thing where you're just like, oh, you're going to cut me off here? How about this? Boom. I got these old files, hard copy, bitch. I could pick up my work from right here.
Yeah.
Knowing that he will start the eventual final eugenics war.
Yeah, I get it. It felt very forced, is all I'm saying.
It did feel forced. I will agree with you there.
That's all I'm getting at. Yeah, but overall, I mean, I liked the Seven and Raffi stuff.
Seven and Rafi stuff still feels forced to me. Like it felt like, I've only seen them fight, and now it's just like
that's the case. I feel like they pick and joke at each other, but they're always sort of mostly they've been on the same page. I don't feel like I've seen them fight yet.
I don't know. I just maybe it's because of that comment. They were like, oh yeah, we saw them together at a con, and we were like, oh, they're hot. Let's make them into a relationship on the last episode.
Right.
Like maybe it's just that it just feels gross to me and weird.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. But I think so far what they've done on the show this season, actually giving them a chance to breathe and like be together the entire season and actually have a relationship, because I legit didn't even remember them ever speaking in the first season.
Right.
I think the actresses did a great job. I buy the relationship. I really do buy them. So I really liked it. I did.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah. They just never felt like they had that, like a romantic chemistry. They, especially like in this season, it just felt like they were kind of it felt like they used to be, and now they like kind of hate each other. Even when they, there's still that bit of like what made them think they could have worked, but I don't know. I didn't feel like the kiss was earned. It just felt weird to me.
Yeah. I really liked all the Talon stuff. I know you were like, well, he could have saved Talon. I liked that she died. I like that she always dies. I like that she got a chance to talk to Renee, and that whole sequence was really good for me. I don't know. Her dying and watching the plane go off was pretty beautiful.
That part of me is like, okay, but then I didn't feel like I got enough of her in the first place to care that she died. If that makes any sense. Like,
so as much as I've complained about it this season, I do think that her being played by the same actress gave me a lot of affection for her to begin with. That I was just like, oh, it made me see her through Picard's eyes, which is like, he loves this girl.
That's interesting.
He put a lot on her. But I hear you. We didn't get a lot of her. The one thing we did know is how much she cared about Renee. And so like seeing it play out that way and seeing her die for Renee was like dying as Renee. Some very, very savior complex of that to that.
Which, by the way, they wouldn't have actually broken quarantine to let Soong talk to her. They wouldn't.
Oh, right.
They said they wouldn't, and he was like, I thought because I paid all this money, and they were like, okay, 5 minutes.
Right.
They would not have done that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree. The Soong of it all. This version of Soong is the most mustache twirly villain maybe I've ever seen on Star Trek.
I'll have to think about that, but
it's pretty close. Pretty close.
I don't know. He was pretty rough.
He's like, even the Borg like have a seeking for collection or collective, the collective, they have a goal other than just like power and toxic legacy. Like when people talk about their legacy, like the legacy they leave on the world, what do they mean? And it's an interesting question to talk about, but it's not really done artfully here. Like, do you really care that there are statues to you if you did that by forcing the world to the brink of annihilation so they had to turn to you? Like, what is that? I don't know. As it annoyed me that like that convinced him that to like go after kill Renee so that he could have a legacy that he would never get to really partake in. I don't know. It was just weird.
Maybe it's still on the table whether or not he's literally just like cloning himself and sticking his sticking his consciousness in it.
Yeah, that's true.
To the point where he's making robots that look like him. So
yeah. Man. Well, I think that's about all we didn't talk about this, but it was mixed in with the whole Q thing. Like, Talon telling Picard to absolve himself and saying, like, you know, that if you don't, you'll be the only life left unsaved. You know, I liked that whole thing. And then him in turn walking and putting the key back into the spot where he would find it years later.
Yep. And talking about how he almost didn't do it, or he thought about not doing it.
Yeah. That got me. It's getting me right now thinking about it. Like him accepting his younger self that he's been running from all this time. And man, him going to Q and be like, why did you need to do this? Am I meant for something greater? Am I meant to do something great? And he says, must it always have galactic import? Such a great line.
Yeah, like I would like for that line to be like taped to the writer's room of Discovery.
That line smacked of Mark Bernardin to me. Yeah, I don't know if it's true, but it feels like a Mark Bernardin line to me.
Yeah, I could totally see him saying that. But you know, it's funny because he says that, and like 3 minutes later, they're like, there's this thing that's destroying the galaxy. There's a threat. This conduit or whatever. Transport conduit.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I was like, must it always have galactic import? And then the moments later, we saved the galaxy.
Yeah.
But that was what's so beautiful is the whole journey this season didn't. But then they had a little fun at the end that was sci-fi fun. You know, Borg had to do their thing, but Picard taking part in this whole exercise with Q was more about him. So I liked it.
Yeah. So we had some feedback from Stu.
Sweet.
Stu Little. And he says if we talk about or address any of this, don't say the thing or don't read it. Excise what his opinions are, and I don't know what to do here because we either talked about it and agreed with him, or we disagreed with him so ardently that we would just be repeating ourselves. So, Stu, thank you for the long email. I don't think we're going to talk about it this time.
Well, I hope you got what you needed from the episode, from our podcast here, Stu.
Yeah, you know. I think we've addressed everything here. I wasn't crazy about it, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. Yeah. You know, like it had some really great moments.
Really, really great fucking moments.
And some really bad moments for me that just, you know. Yeah. Much like this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very uneven.
Fair. Mostly the drone thing.
The drone thing was awful.
It's so bad. It felt like an episode of, like, I don't know, like NCIS or something. Like, I was like, what are we watching? Yeah. You know what? It felt like a moment from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. One of the same sort of like, this moment has no stakes sort of things, which I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they almost always have some sort of like action-y thing that you know how it resolves before it starts. You know what I mean? And that's how that felt.
There was a lot of like weird little things, like, you know, him demanding to break quarantine to go see the Renee. Yeah. You know, the fact that they weren't already in the shuttle for like 4 hours beforehand.
Right.
They don't just like show up and like get in and 5 minutes later they're launching. That's not a thing. You know, lots of little, like the drone thing sucked. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
there's
all
a lot
things.
of little weird things in there, but like there's also some really beautiful material. And it's like, I just don't know. Sometimes it's just like you overcomplicated it a little too much, you know? Like it just needs to like breathe a little bit and just let the scenes that are amazing be the scenes that are amazing, and don't try to throw in an extra drone fight sequence in the middle. I don't know.
And sometimes they underthink things and you're just like, y'all.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. A couple of things I had in my notes that we didn't get to.
Sure. Go for it.
Dr. Queen looks terrible. Girardi looks horrible. That was the worst effects of the entire season.
Those were weird effects, weren't they?
Yeah. They were like, it was like they just had to map her face onto that thing and it didn't work at all. They just did a really, really bad job.
They spent like a really long time just like showing her emotionless face, just staring. And I was like, what are we doing? Cut. You made a 38-minute episode earlier this season. Just cut a few seconds so that she's not just making this face for like 45 seconds.
It looked like her face was moving while her head wasn't and stuff like that. Like it didn't, it wasn't meshing well. Like her head was wiggling on her face was wiggling on the head. It clearly wasn't like actually her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just looked really bad, like really poorly done effects. I don't know.
Yes, it was.
A show that can do so much and then just has stuff weird, little stuff like that just doesn't work at all.
And that may have been like a compromise because of COVID or something.
Possibly, or it could have even been, I thought of it could have been like, maybe they weren't sure it was going to be Girardi the whole time, and then they had to like, you know, go in and put Girardi's face on it at some point. It just felt weird. I don't know why it was weird like that, but it was weird.
It was odd.
The Borg asked for provisional membership in the Federation. That was big.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It was time. You know, we came into Next Generation. The big bad guy of TOS was part of the Federation. You know, so it was time. It was time for the Borg to become more humanized and not be completely evil.
Yep. The Ferengi were not exactly on the crew, but they were a part of the main cast of DS9.
Mm-hmm. And now they're in Starfleet on Discovery.
And then the Maquis were, you know, big bads, as it were, on DS9 and TNG. They became part of the crew in Voyager. Like, it's a whole thing they do. So, yeah, I like it. But I don't know that that'll sit well with all the Federation, especially just like Picard just going around, like, doing whatever he wants with the Federation. I did like the moment, although I hated that they killed off Rios this episode for all intents and purposes. I really liked that they said he died in a bar fight, like doing something for others. I forget exactly what they said, but he died in a bar fight, and she said he died like he lived, and it just reminded me back to that first episode where he's like found with a big piece of shrapnel in his shoulder. Yeah. I did like that part of his story.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah.
Anticlimactic, but you know.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted more Rios. I just wasn't ready to give up Rios.
Yeah, I felt like they just sort of, he wasn't, you know, I thought he had found his place on Stargazer.
Yeah, me too. Because like I never fit. I was living on a ship by myself, with 5 holographic versions of myself, and like he says all that, and then I was just thinking like, no, you weren't. You like had gotten past that. That was your arc of the first season, and now you were the captain of the Stargazer, and you had like resolved yourself, your like weird philosophy about life and being a captain again. It was great. I loved where you were when you left the future. And then he's like, but I'd never had a family, and then I found all of you, and you were my family, and now I have to leave. Like, I don't understand.
Because I want to tap this ass over here.
Oh.
And maybe play catch with this kid before the world ends in 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that's true. The world's going to go to shit real soon.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man.
Yep, that's a bummer.
But the kid can't leave because the kid is supposed to do the thing to cure all the things.
Yeah,
once.
I did like that. Yeah. His Auntie Renee. I liked all of that. None of that, Rios didn't need to be there for that.
No.
For the show, for the show.
Yeah.
Okay, well, any other thoughts here?
I don't think I have any more actual thoughts. At least until after we record and I go, damn it!
Yeah, for sure. There's always those.
I do hope we get more Wesley.
Yeah, I do too.
I would love a Traveler spinoff show that dealt with like assignment Earth shit.
Yeah.
Like,
That does sound really
love
fun.
to see that. Like they could showcase every bit of every canon. They could, be like, oh, this is, show clips or something from TOS and be like, this is what it looked like before this incursion. And just like, they could play with so much.
Yeah, it's true.
And make everybody happy. They could just, I don't know. And I've been wanting like a Quantum Leap Star Trek show forever. Like when Enterprise was on, I really wanted Cisco to show up and set right what once went wrong, because we've got these like outside of time and space characters, and Wesley and Cisco specifically, who could play that role. And it was just like, I love time travel stories. So when they're done well,
I love time travel stories when they're done well too. And then when they're a little confusing and not really clear, I get a little annoyed.
I also love when they're done really poorly, because me and you complaining about Project Almanac, like right after we went to see that, was one of the most fun days I've had in a long time.
That was a lot of fun.
I loved that we didn't know who made the movie, and we sat down and the lights grow dim and it says MTV Productions, and we both went, oh, like audibly groaned.
I was so hopeful though, because like sometimes weird time travel movies or whatever come from weird places that like it seems like a kid movie, but then all of a sudden, like, remember that movie Clock Stoppers we went to see a couple times?
You went to see it. I never did see it. I know Jonathan Frakes directed it, but
you never saw it?
I have it on DVD. I bought it for $5.
I could have sworn we saw that together.
We did not. I think that was you and Ryan.
Yeah, you may be right. I thought that movie's great. And it's like really strangely good for like kind of a kid's movie, sort of. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to see it, I was like, this is a really good little time travel. Not exactly time travel, it's a time stopping movie, but like, it has a lot of inventive, cool scenes in it, but it's a kid's movie for all intents and purposes.
It's a dramatic take on Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, exactly. But like, so when I see something like MTV Films, I'm like, okay, it's not aimed at me, but sometimes a weird good writer will get through a weird production company and make a good movie, and then like, nope, that's not what happened. The Project Almanac was bad. I don't even remember it now. I just remember making fun of it for hours. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. How did this guy get over here and do this and then? Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I love talking about bad time travel movies and trying to make them work. Like, how do you headcanon this? How does it work? But
yeah. Like, and also I love trying to headcanon really good time travel movies that don't make sense. Like, like Donnie Darko is one of my favorites, to just be like, what is the tangent universe? How does it work? The director's cut didn't help at all.
I thought that one worked fine.
Years ago when we lived together, we stayed up all night one night trying to talk about like how Donnie Darko made sense. We watched the theatrical, we watched the director's cut, and every time we had a solution to how it worked, we came up with, one of us would realize some other little piece of the puzzle that like voided that. Like, it was maddening and a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, either way, I hope they don't do time travel next season of Picard. I want them to do something in the real world. I want it to be solid. I'm interested what this big threat is. And I kind of hope it establishes something cool for the Federation to face in the coming era or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they just took out the Borg, so.
At least, I guess. I mean, according to lore, or according to how Star Trek has said, that Janeway took out the Borg, and there's just like sort of pockets of cubes or whatever.
Right.
And then now we're getting this other offshoot of the Borg that have been around the whole time, but we never met. So this is our first experience with Gerati Borg or whatever.
Right. I kind of like that. The Gerati.
Yeah, the Gerati's not a bad sci-fi name for a race.
It's not. I dig it.
Yeah.
And I hate that Alison Pill said that she's not going to be in the next season.
What?
That's what she said. Like, did you see that big announcement?
No, I guess not.
Like, pretty much nobody's coming back.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I say that. And it does. but we're going to get the whole other crew next season. And with Seven being the possible field commissioned captain of the Stargazer, it's possible we'll just get like a whole new show. I bet if that was announced, I bet in no time we'll get an announcement that we're getting a show with at least Raffi, Seven, and Elnor.
I think Seven is coming back.
Okay.
Michelle Hurd and Jerry Ryan are confirmed to be returning, but Alison Pill has said that she will not be back. And Issa Brioni says she's not coming back. And, I mean, like, pretty much everybody else is, that's, Corey or Soji, whatever.
Okay. I guess that's fine. We didn't really see Soji this season anyway.
No more Elnor.
Oh, no more Elnor.
Of course, no more Elnor, no more Rios.
Yeah.
But Hurd and Seven are back.
Okay. That's fine. I'm bummed that Girardi and Elnor won't be back, though.
Wheaton is sticking to his thing that he's not going to be part of season 3. But what's funny is I was watching this little like behind the scenes thing about Wesley coming back for this last episode, and they were like, "Okay, so where is Corey going to go now once she leaves Spiner?" And they were like, "Oh, what if Wesley shows up and he's a traveler and is connected to this?" And they were talking about how like Akiva Goldsman was talking about like how all of the showrunners, all of the different shows that they're doing have been fighting over who gets to have Wesley come back. Like everyone has wanted Wesley to come back and be on their show. Discovery wanted him.
Oh,
freaking Lower Decks wanted him. Prodigy wanted him. And they were like, no, he's a TNG character. He comes back here. So, yeah.
Well, I guess now they could bring him back anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
If they did.
All right. Well, yep. Corey and Wesley will show up this season on Strange New Worlds.
I don't need her.
I like her. I like her as an actress, and I like the characters so far.
Yeah, I mean, it would be neat. Actually, it would be neat if they had like an anthology show, and like one of the things they had to do would be to like affect something that makes Adam Soong create the robot or the android that looks like her.
Yeah, that could
like
work.
Remind him of their past or something.
Yeah. All right. Well,
anyway.
I guess I gotta get out of here. Good casting with you, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Good chat. Always good to chat about Star Trek. I'm really hopeful for next season. Although the news that Girardi and Elnor aren't coming back doesn't excite me. Also, if you're not bringing Elnor back, why bring him back?
Exactly.
That's dumb.
Oh! You want to know what else is dumb?
Please tell me.
When Guinan was like, "Yep, I knew all along, but I just couldn't tell you." Remember that when she was like, when Whoopi tells Picard, like, "Oh yeah, I remembered all that shit in the past that you just went through, but I couldn't tell you." It just reminded me of Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, when he was like, "Turns out my wife Vanessa was a fembot." And Basil Exposition goes, "Yes, we knew all along, sadly."
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's ugh. Oh, man. Which I guess it makes sense in this situation more than that one, but like still, it's very funny.
It does. It makes more sense. But it was like, oh, God, why would she? But I guess at some point they realized, like, oh, Guinan would remember, so.
Yeah.
Because she has the time sickness and remembers alternate reality. Okay. All right.
But this isn't an alternate reality, though. What they experienced this time wasn't an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Which means that the reality they went to, she should have known him from the...
Exactly.
Whatever.
She should have known him from Time Zero. Yes. Thank you for saying it, cuz I didn't want to always be the buzzkill.
Yeah. I guess maybe that was part of the thing she didn't tell him in the... Maybe she did know kind of who he was when she met him, but didn't tell him.
I mean, there's a few hundred years, and he had aged considerably. I mean, sometimes an old man is just an old man. You don't just walk around. It's not every day some old bald guy comes up to you and goes, "Remember 300 years ago when you met me?"
But yeah, she's a DeLorean. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Well, I'm excited about Strange New Worlds episode 2. I know you're probably not as excited as me, but after thinking about our conversation on that show on the last week's episode, or earlier this week's episode,
mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm not more annoyed, because I definitely feel your pain on that. And there's other shows where I get really annoyed when they're telling me it's the same universe and it's not.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something about Star Trek where it's like the stakes of it going away are really high in my mind versus the certain things that don't bother me as much versus versus like literally the good I think the show does in the world. Like, I mean, I was raised on this thing, man, you know?
Yeah. You were raised on lots of things you've abandoned.
Yeah, it's true. But this is one of the ones where I got things that actually led me to good places.
Uh-huh. I think I just, like, for me to feel like it matters and fits, like, for me to feel stakes, I have to feel like things that have happened on the show matter.
Yeah.
So and this is true of it's not like me going, new Trek. No.
I know that.
Like this, I have always eschewed continuity errors, but also as a person who fancies himself a writer at the very least, I really enjoy coming up with headcanon to make it work, and wish I could work on Star Trek and be like, oh, let's do a whole series based on this. You don't understand. This could be great.
Yeah.
Just explaining this one continuity error is like a whole series. And it would be a really good show.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. Been thinking about it all week where I was like, I just don't know why. I guess like the experience of watching a show that's hopeful and that really has the people on it. Like, you know, it's like I was talking about earlier with my own philosophy on life and like trying to do what's right by others and stuff. Like, choosing the Starfleet ideal to me is very much what I like very much try to choose to be, is like the try to look beyond myself, try to see other people as valid, like that are different than me, you know, seek out new lives and new civilizations and try to, like, you know, do good in the world. And I think that's generally what Starfleet's trying to do. And like, I just getting the chance to really see a show that's doing that, I'm excited about. And so like, I think that's why I'm so excited about Strange New Worlds, is it seems like that's what they're making, a show that's trying to do that again, instead of just being about, I don't know, whatever the last few things of Star Trek have been about.
I just figured you were pushing back so hard on the Star Trek bit because you wanted to make me seem dumb for having aesthetic problems.
No.
You're like, oh, Dave.
No,
Oh, Dave, talking about your canon.
I legitimately hate canon breaks for the same reasons you do, because it's like, if you're gonna break canon, then you're just breaking canon, and it's like, why are you telling me it's the same universe? You're lying to me to get my money. And I that bothers me a lot, and other things. It
does to me too. And you know what? It's funny because like that little behind the scenes thing where Akiva Goldsman was talking, he's like, we really love to connect these little pieces of canon, like to like, and make these like, make canon like not be broken and shit. And I'm like, you've broken canon like 10 times in the last 2 years. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, only when it suits you. Like, it does feel like it's very much a situation of like, we're going to serve the fans. Here's a bunch of canon, until they're like, we don't like that canon. We're throwing it out.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's all canon. Remember how it's no, I don't remember how it's all canon. Like, there's nothing to indicate, even before any of quote unquote new Trek, that any of it was like canon with each other, like as far as like cohesively. Like there have been so many.
There's mistakes.
Canon breaks.
There's difference between mistakes and like just flaunting the canon of it all.
Well, obviously changing Jadzia's the look of the Trill.
Sure.
Yeah, from like a bump on her face to like spots.
Yeah.
You know, that's just tossing it, being like,
for sure. And I mean,
that was like literally a producer going, "Why you got all that shit on her face? She's gorgeous. Give her the spots like Famke."
Yep, I know.
I imagine like an old 1940s producer with a cigarette. You know, like, "That's a gorgeous broad there. Lose the bumps."
Yeah, I know. And that bothers me immensely. That one bothers me a lot. Although I also get it. Like, Jadzia is gorgeous, and I don't think she would have looked as good with big bumps on her face.
But yeah, to me, that's the same thing. Is like where they're like, the Enterprise wouldn't look like that anymore. Just do it up, doll it up there, guys. I'll be in my dressing room with a hooker. I mean, potential actress.
Well, yeah, those are very different to me, but I get why you feel that way.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring this up again.
Yeah, no. I was just saying, like, I've been thinking about it. I'm trying to pin down like why I feel differently, and it's not that I don't hear you, and it's not that I don't feel that way about a lot of things. I think it's more like I want it to work really bad. Oh, and dude. So certain things I'm willing to stretch more than you are, I guess. But partially because I feel like I need it to work. I genuinely, I was telling the folks over on that Star Trek podcast, I'll say it to you because I want to see what your thoughts are. I would love to do like a sort of a Quantum Leap type show, but have it starring Adrian Holmes as Robert April, and he meets old white Robert April from the animated series, and they're the leads. It's like two versions of the same man running around time, fixing history. Yeah, man, that's one of those golden ideas. We'll fix the canon while you have a great show.
It would be great. He'd be like, "Oh, there's an alternate version of me. It's an old white guy that sounds like Jimmy Doohan. Let's go." Like, why do you look like a squished William Shatner? Huh? Because they didn't have the money to make a new version of me.
That's so silly. I like it. Very good. All right. Well, I've definitely gone way longer than I expected tonight. I've got to go to bed. I still got to edit this thing and go to bed. So, good talking to you guys tonight. Thanks for joining us on the Star Trek universe. My name is Matthew Carroll. Joel on True, whatever. I don't know how we end the show.
Usually you forget to say Joel on True.
I haven't forgotten in a long time.
And then I say live long and prosper. And then sometimes we talk about Marvel for an hour.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.